Hey everyone, I know I haven't made a video for a while, so I thought I'd make one. January 23rd, 2017. It's my birthday, actually. I'm 34 today. I know it's been almost 2 years since I made a video, but this time I want to go back to something political. And in a way is political. It's definitely controversial. But you know, this weekend was the Women's March, which didn't exactly make it clear what it's about or for, because we're getting several different narratives in the process here, and from what's been going on. Part of it, I think a large part of it is anger because of Donald Trump and the comments he's made, grab him by the pussy, which is a pretty awful thing to say, yes. And from this point on, I want to make it clear, I did not support Donald Trump. I don't support Donald Trump. I don't want to see him fail, because just like I didn't want to see Obama fail, because you know, it's like cheering for the captain of the Titanic to just ram it right into the iceberg. And at this point, with the debt at the level that it is, we are on the Titanic, ladies and gentlemen. But back to the issue at hand. One of the other issues that was brought up was the whole thing about the taxing of tampons. That are not compared to razors and all that. And there's a lot of products like that, but yes, they're necessity, but are taxed. You pay the sales tax. I would be open to removing putting sales tax exemptions on certain items that can be deemed necessity, such as tampons, maxi pads, toilet paper as another one that gets taxed. But until that time, unless you come to realize, ladies, please come to realize, come to realize now, come join us in the libertarian side, and come join us in saying taxation is theft. The government has been stealing from you for all these years by taxing you for these items that you need. And no one's who's criticizing this march is saying you don't need tampons. We know you need tampons. Any guy knows, especially in adults, someone I'd say, okay, someone older who stopped giggling at the word vagina, knows, in all seriousness, knows that, there are certain things a woman needs, every month, and certain women need more than others. I have come across women who've, before taking birth control pills, had 2-3 week long periods. And that is, yes, very excessive. And that way the birth control pill has been very, very helpful for them in that need. And in terms of birth control pill, I'm not saying you can't take it. It's a medical expense. And in many times it is definitely a necessity. But the complaining about the price of it is going to get you nowhere, because price is based on demand, and the more demand there is for a birth control pill, the more that there will be price gouging, and well, not so much gouging, but price raises due to the marketplace. Now, if we open up the market more and deregulate, we will see more competition, and so there will be more birth control available to you. And this also will force the prices of the existing birth control pill brands to drop. And in the end, you win. You, as a consumer, you win from that. And that's why we need a truly free market system. Not what Bernie Sanders and so much on the left refer to as the free market. We don't, as Ron Paul famously said, we don't have a free market. The free market doesn't exist. We have a regulated market, and that's the problem. So I know there's so much talk about Bernie Sanders has wanted to be able to bring in medicine from Canada because the price is cheaper. That's actually a free market solution. So yay Bernie. I don't know, my thumb's too big to fit in here. Yay Bernie. Yeah, you can see my awkwardly hobbit-shaped thumbs, ladies and gentlemen. But one of the major things too is there been in this march is there was concerns about access to birth control, which that's not going to change. I mean, it's going to be no different than if Clinton was elected president, and God forbid, that wouldn't it be any better than if with Donald Trump as president. Frankly, we got two sides of the same coin there. So now with the other issue is, he's Republican, which I'm definitely using air quotes because this guy has been a lifelong Democrat, a supporter of pro-choice candidates, including the Clintons, which is why they were there, because they are buddies. Basically, he was supposed to help her win, and he fell ass backwards into the White House. So I think he's just trying to make the most of it now. So we're all in for a interesting reality show the next few years. But the thing on abortion is, and I'm going to definitely mention a lot in this, is Planned Parenthood, because they are the major provider of birth control. In the birth control that is abortion. Abortion is not a safe form of birth control. It is a medical procedure that is, as Elizabeth Warren puts it, should be safe, legal, and rare, at which very much to a degree I agree with. If an abortion should be performed, yes, it needs to be safe, which means a doctor, someone who's highly trained on that, should be the one who does that. Legal, that one's keto, because really, and the issue is always brought up as, it's my body, my choice. It's, ladies who are pro-choice, it is not your body that gets mangled and pulled out of you. It is a separate person's body. If you look into embryology and reproductive science, you understand that when a egg and the sperm cell, do their thing. I think we've all seen Look Who's Talking. That it becomes, with DNA of a mother and DNA of the father, become one and becomes in itself a separate being both of mother and of father, and yet its own thing, which is truly, when you look at it, the great metaphor of a child. Look at your own child and see how much you see of your spouse and of yourself, or your partner and yourself, and in cases that, you know, that is very much both of you, and yet its own person. And that's the thing I have trouble with. Now, yes, there are instances. Now, the instance is always brought up. What about in cases of rape? Okay. Should you be guilty of crimes that your parent commits and thus face the penalties? Because that's what it's like to be conceived of rape and then aborted. The child had no say in how they were created. They had no voice to state that they couldn't choose to be aborted. I highly doubt you'd find any adults. Oh, I mean, there's some people who are suicidal and depressed, I'm sure, who would say this, but you're going to find an adult who'd say, you know what? I wish I'd been aborted. You're going to have a hard time finding that. You know, because as Ronald Reagan famously put it, the people who are for abortion have already been born. Now, I don't see a true justification in the case of rape to issue that would be medically necessary. Now, as for the Plan B pill, that one I'm kind of iffy on. I mean, that if your medical insurance will cover it, or you're willing to pay out of pocket, whatever. I don't feel like that's something that should be covered. That's not something I should have to pay for you, and not something other people should have to pay for you. I mean, that's, if it's your choice, then it's your responsibility, which includes to abort that situation. Then it's your responsibility to pay for your means to do that. Now, when you get to stuff like incest and incestuous rape of like a small child, and the child gets pregnant, there's a high degree of medical risk there for that child if they were to get pregnant, because of their age and their body's not fully quite developed yet. So a case could be made with the doctor. If the doctor says this could be medically necessary, then yes. If there's a chance of a case where the mother or child may die, then yes, there's that case. Now, there have also been cases of women who've been told, you will die, and they go through with it. And yes, some of them have died, but some of them have lived, but they gave their life for their child, which is the ultimate act a parent could do. I mean, how many parents would go out and run out in the street and to push their kid out of the way and take the car hit, to save their child's life? Don't tell me you wouldn't do the same thing, pro-choicers, because you know you would. You'd run out in that street and sacrifice your life for your child. You know you would. If you love your child deep down your heart, you know you'd run out there. You'd put your life at risk for your child. You know you would. I know I would. For my kids. I got 3 great kids. technically only one of them is biologically mine, and one I'm going to be adopting this year. My wife's youngest, our oldest boy, her second child, whose father didn't want anything to do with him. Said he didn't want to have anything to do with a bastard child, and left before he was born. He was 6 months old when I came along, and I accepted responsibility and became a father before even marrying Sarah. And then there's my stepdaughter, our oldest, who's 9, and she goes with her dad every once in a while and stuff, but he's very much part of her life. He would do the same thing. He'd run out in the street and give his life for his daughter. Any good parent would do that. Any loving parent would do that. So, in a case of a medical, and I would see as the only true justification for an abortion. So, but that really statistically comes to about 3% of all abortions when you come to it. So, really, 97% of abortions are done by out of choice. It's, I don't want the child. Not a lot of you pro-choicers are going to say, well, if you feel like that, why don't you adopt all these children who need adopted? Because obviously I was going to jump into, you can always give the child up for adoption. And there are speedier ways to get that going, including making arrangements before your child is born. And that definitely fast tracks your child into a home. Now, as for the children who are already in the foster care system and whatnot, it is extremely difficult for most people to adopt who want to adopt. It is a bureaucratic process taking many years and thousands of dollars, which makes it just unattainable for those who aren't wealthy. And so, if we really want to fix that, you say, lament all the children in the foster care system, then we need to lax the laws on adoption. We need to make it easier for people to adopt, because these children deserve a loving home and family, and there are people out there who want to have them in their homes, who want to give these kids a second chance, because these kids deserve it. There's amazing kids out there who will change the lives of these families. These kids can change the world. There are people who've, there have been celebrities and famous people who were adopted. If they hadn't been adopted, we wouldn't know people like Wendy's founder, Dave Thomas, who got adopted and raised and became this great businessman who opened up this chain of restaurants across our country. He named after his daughter, and because of his wealth he built, he helped other children in the adoption who needed adopted. There's people like Ric Flair. Woo! Yeah, I had to put that one out there. You mentioned Ric Flair. Woo! Who was adopted and became the 16-time, I can't do the strut because I'm in the car, world champion. So you can make a difference in adoption, and if the money was available to me to do such a thing, I would do that, because I would love to do that. I know Sarah and I have talked about that, how we'd love to be able to do something like that, or have a foster child come to live with us, and help that child. Now, Planned Parenthood. This is really, this is going to get uncomfortable, especially for you pro-choicers, because there are some unsettling aspects that the founder, Margaret Sanger, has put out there, that she's said, things she has said, and it's really uncomfortable to hear such things, because Planned Parenthood is put out as being such a compassionate and health source for women, and a lot, really very limited beyond birth control related, which consumer health studies have shown that they're really ineffective forms of birth control. They give you the pills and the condoms, and that pretty much is a way to lead you back to come get an abortion, because there were studies done that break down the 3% is way off from what they numbers. So let me just give you some of these quotes and kind of break it down what she's talking about, and kind of give you a little bit too about some of the things that Planned Parenthood and NARAL and a lot of these progressive left pro-choicers advocate, and really give this some thought, because it is really going to upset you. Now, on this is a quote from Margaret Sanger from an article she wrote, A Plan for Peace, in Birth Control Review from April of 1932, and it was on population control, including abortion. And she said this was defending the unborn against their own disabilities. Now that one is pretty concerning, especially most of us know someone who has a disability of some sort, and our lives are not worse for having them in our lives. They're actually better. They're part of our families. They're part of our friends. They're part of our work environment. For me, because I work in a field that deals with individuals with special needs and disabled. It's really uncomfortable to think that that's something being pushed by Planned Parenthood and the NARAL and the pro-choice left, but really it is. Look back to 2008 and how much crap was flung at Sarah Palin, all because she had the test done to see whether her son, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden, her youngest son, Trip, I forget, had Down syndrome or not, and she found out he was, and she gave birth to him anyway. She just went ahead and gave birth, and she was criticized for that. How could you bring this child into the world? That's, for people who go, how dare you tell me what to do with my body? That's a very hypocritical thing to say, as that you'd have to tell someone what to do with their body when, one, that wasn't their body. This is their flesh and blood. Now, she got into some issues. She would brought up things about people being, whether they're fit to breed and whatnot, and forcing sterilization, which doesn't fit into that whole my body, my choice, when you have to force sterilize someone. But now getting it further this edge, now she's talked about people being considered unfit by her definition would be sent to farmlands and homesteads to, quote, be taught to work under competent instructors for the period of their entire lives. She's talking about slavery. Slavery, ladies and gentlemen. That if you're not competent, you'd be made a slave. This is really not, really, when you think about it, too, about how her aspects, what she thought about African Americans, is not that shocking. And I'm going to get to what she said about African Americans later on. But, oh my God, leftists, one of your heroes, your progressive icons, is advocating slavery. Are you guys going to own up to this? Because this is freaking crazy. This is also from a Plan for Peace from the Birth Review from April 1932, by the way. Okay, now, she was an advocate for this thing called the American Baby Code, which is basically like a law. It tells you, stating, basically creating laws around being able to have children and whatnot. Okay, now this is shocking. Article 4. No woman shall have the legal right to bear a child. My body, my choice? Really? Your progressive goddess doesn't think so. And no man shall have the right to become a father. So is this okay just because he's a man? Without permit for parenthood. So you have to seek legal... Basically, you have to seek the government's permission to have children. It's outrageous enough you have to seek an agreement from the government that consents to you getting married in your marriage license, which is outrageous. And why didn't people who were so PO'd about years before about the gays not being able to get married because of the way the government is set up, then argued against licensing, because licensing was set up for the government to control who got married. So you should also have that also for parenting, okay? Now, Article 6 from this is going to sound a lot like China. China, as our orange president says. No permit for parenthood shall be valid for more than one birth. Now, she did say, and this is from her, from what she wrote, it was called America Needs a Code for Babies, that what is social planning without a quota? So, controlling births, if you look at it in larger aspect. Now, in large families, not many people come from large families. Now, here's a shocking thing. This is from, as she wrote, it's called Woman and the New Race from 1920. The most merciful thing that a large family does to its infant members is to kill it. Straight up advocating infanticide. Your progressive goddess, left. Your progressive goddess. Hold on a second. Now, this is shocking too, this quote from her, from the same, from Women in the New Race, where she's attacking her detractors. Birth control itself often announced as a violation of natural law, which what she refers to as birth control, sterilization, and abortion and whatnot is a violation of natural law. Is nothing more or less than facilitation of process of weeding out the unfit, of preventing the birth of defectives or those who will become defectives. Where she's getting back into deeming whether you're unfit or not slaves, and preventing the birth of defectives. She's talking about the handicap. So, all of you pro-choicers who were born handicapped, it might be a good time to rethink why you're worshiping this woman and her organization. Now, she gets into Malthusian issues, and from also the same source, from Women in the New Race, and she talks about excessive populations, which is very popular among progressives as population control and whatnot. Now, get this one, ladies. How she's gonna throw some at you now. War, famine, poverty, and oppression of workers will continue while women make lives life cheap. So it's your fault that war, famine, poverty, and oppression exist. She's throwing the blame on you, all because there's excessive population. So she's basically saying, if you don't do what I say, war and famine and poverty and oppression will all continue. These are just things that happen. These are human traits. One way or the other, these kind of things will happen. All right, and then lastly on African Americans, as I promised. So, all right. Jesse Jackson used to be pro-life. He argued against Planned Parenthood because of its racist past. This kind of quote will tell you a reason, basically give you a lot of the reasoning behind that. And because Planned Parenthood has gone after the African American community overwhelmingly, it's estimated that the African American population would be about 1/3 larger if it wasn't for Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry. He only changed that when Jesse Jackson changed that stance when he ran for the Democratic Party president nomination, because he wanted to be able to get the nomination. So, Democrats are all pro-choice and all. So here's the quote. "We don't want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. Left, it's time to come to terms. Your progressive goddess is a bigot. There's the truth.